Hi everybody, and welcome back to Sew Along with Jan. So today I'm going to introduce you to one of the new features that came on the Aveneer. So I'm working on my Aveneer EV1 right now. And then this year there was a new sewing machine that came out that is just a sewing machine called the Brother Celeste and the Baby Lock Anthem that has this new feature, and it's called the Intelligent Stitch Regulator. So Brother has a stitch regulator. It's so exciting. Now, I'm more of an embroiderer, so I don't do a lot of free motion quilting, but I've been trying to think of some fun things that I could use this stitch regulator for. And I wanted to show it to you on the Aveneer, and it works basically the same way on the Celeste and the Anthem. So some of you out there may be just quilters or sewers only and want to get something like that. And the machine is beautiful. It's the size of the Dream Machine Destiny. Very nice machine, and it has this stitch regulator on it. So I've had a lot of fun playing with this. It actually is very simple to use. It is very smooth, works very well. So let's just take a look at it. I'm just going to talk about, so first of all, the machines that, the machines that have this function, the Intelligent Stitch Regulator, they sometimes call it ISR. The machines that have that are the Brother Aveneer and the Baby Lock Radiance, which is the big new sewing embroidery combination machine, and then the new Brother Celeste and the Baby Lock Anthem. So those are the sewing onlys. It's a Celeste, I think it's X1 or something like that. They have some numbers behind it, but it's the sewing only Celeste. There's also an embroidery only Celeste. But the Baby Lock Anthem and the Brother Celeste are the new machines that just came out in the fall of 2025. So, and then the Aveneer and the Radiance came out in the fall of 2024. So this is something I've been wanting to show you. I've been wanting to play with it. Like I said, it's not hard to use. So we're going to start out by, I'm just going to show you the foot. So the foot comes with all of these machines that I've mentioned. And so this is the foot. This is the actual ISR, the stitch regulator foot. Okay. Let me take this off here real quick so you can see the little gadget. So this is the little gadget that goes on the machine, just like a regular foot. So you can see it has a little shank over here. Then it has the little tail, like our older Dream Machines had for the embroidery foot. So you can plug this in up at the back, and then the machine will know that this is on. So this is the actual foot part, okay? And then it comes with feet that slide into it, different kinds of feet. So there's 3 different feet that come with it. There's a regular free motion foot that has like a zigzag. And by the way, you can use the zigzag stitch. So I'm going to show you something I've been playing with on that. But this is the regular foot. Okay, there's also an open toe foot that comes with it. And these just slide into the main module that goes on the machine. Okay, and then also the Echo foot. So this is the Echo quilting foot. So basically the same, like free motion and quilting feet that come with it, that have come with a lot of the machines, are those 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and put one of these on. I'm going to use the regular one, I think. So this is the regular one, and it's going to slide into this little slot right here. Show you how to put it on. Just slides in there, okay? And then there's a little latch back here to take it off. So I can just push the little latch forward. Whoops, except you have to keep the thumb off of it. Push the little latch forward, and it pops just right out. So you can do that with any of them. They just slide in, okay? And then this little latch just pops it out. So it's very simple to use. When I got the machine last fall or last winter, I was a little scared of this thing. I thought, well, what is this thing going to do? But it was fun to play with. So let's go ahead then, and I'm going to show you how this goes on the machine. Now I am working with a tripod today, so I apologize if something shows a little bit, because I have to kind of move my tripod around. When I work with the screen on the machine, the tripod works the best. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead. Let me find my quarter here. I use a quarter for a screwdriver a lot. So here's my quarter. We're going to use that. And again, we're going to put the little slot goes to the front. when you put it on, and then here's the little shank, and then see where the little slot is where the screw goes, just like you put on a regular foot. So we're just going to go ahead and slide this back here. I've got the screw loosened. It's not off, it's just loosened. I'm going to slide it on, tighten it up a little bit with my fingers, and then I'm going to snug it up a little bit, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little gadget here, and I'm going to plug it into the back of the machine. So I'm going to reach the little cord here, and there's a little plug, just like our dream machines used to have back here for the embroidery foot. I'm just going to plug that in. So as soon as you do that, let me show you what the screen did. Go back here to the screen. And as soon as you plug that in, it knows what foot's on there. And it comes up and says you can start free motion quilting basting with the stitch regulator. Be careful not to pull the fabric tightly, causing it to break the needle. So I'm going to click OK. And there's going to be another screen that's going to come up here. So I'm just going to hit OK. And now we've got the screen. Go a little higher here. The screen that is for the stitch regulator. So see, these little feet will say SR. And the foot that it's showing in the picture is the standard one, which is this, so it looks like that. Okay. This is the open toe. And this is the echo foot. Okay. So I think I'm just going to use this regular one. I'm going to show you how to attach it. So we'll go over here, and you got to be a little careful when you're attaching it because of your needle. I usually attach it once I get it on the machine. It seems to be a little easier for me. So when I attach it, you want to kind of bring it under the needle, and then there's a slot in there, and you just want to kind of slide it around and push it in like that. When you take it off, there's the little latch back here. I'm pushing that little lever, comes right off. And then when you do the same thing, you're going to kind of do it in reverse. So that little hole that's in the foot helps you get it on and off the machine. See? Okay. We'll just push it on. So it's pretty simple for that. Then we're going to go back to the screen here, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff that's on the screen before I actually sew. I will sew a little. I'm not a very good free motioner, but I am going to show you a couple of things that I thought that I would use the stitch regulator for. And just so you know, I'm working on the Aveneer, and so the Aveneer has a couple extra functions that the Celeste does not. They sort of have the same ones, but there's a couple of extra things because this machine has a projection camera in it. So there are going to be a couple of extra things on the screen that are not on the Celeste screen, but it's very close, okay? So let's go ahead and look at some of these little buttons here so we know what these all things mean. So this button here, I'm going to go ahead, I probably won't point to it. I'm going to use the mouse because that way I'm not sticking my hand in front of the camera and making it go out of focus. So the guideline marker. So in other words, and what's cool about the Aveneer, when you use a mouse and you push it up to the button you're looking at, it actually tells you what that button is, which is really awesome. So this is the guideline marker or the laser light. So if I click on that, it's going to turn on the laser light functions. Okay, I'll swivel the camera over here, and you can see that all these lights turned on over here. Okay, for the laser lights. So this way you can use your laser light function to do free motioning if you want to use some of the guidelines and stuff to help you with your free motioning. So we'll just kind of look at this. You know, you turn the guideline on and off with the top switch here. This is also in the sewing end of the machine, so you may have seen this before. There's a main line and a sub line, so there's two lines available. The main one you can now have in the Aveneer, you can have a plus sign as a line. You can have the straight line, and you can have the drop, like the drop point. You can change the lengths of the lines. So like if I go to a straight line, I have a long, medium, and short option. I also have colors, and the one thing they've added to the machine in with the Aveneer is they added a lot of color options, which is really nice. And I don't think the Celeste has these. It's just the Aveneer. Has about 16 options of color. So it's a little easier sometimes to be able to see the guidelines on your fabric. So that's in this area. Okay. The mainline position means you can move it forward or back, and you can move it side to side. So I'm just going to leave mine both on 0 because I want it to be in the middle right now, and I'm just going to leave it there. So that's what those mean. This tab, that's for the main line. And then the other line, or the other tab up here is sub. So these are the options for the second guidelines. You can have another line. You can have a grid line. So if I put this over here, I don't know how well you'll be able to see. So it's like putting a camera on a camera, and it's going to show rainbow. And I'm sorry, but can you see the little cross hatches here? Okay, that's why I don't do too much with the camera with the projector, because it looks funny on the screen. It's very hard for it to be seen. Okay, so let's go back over here again. You can also do a angle, and it gives you several different other angles. You can do, it gives you options for which angle you want. You can do 90 degrees, you can do 30, 45, 60. They actually added a bunch to the Aveneer. 120, 135, 150, and then a negative 90. So in other words, it'll be going, the angle will be going the opposite direction. So that's some of the things that are in that setting. I just wanted to go through the settings so that you understood. I don't know that I'll use the laser light for my quilting, but I just wanted you to understand what all these buttons meant. Okay, so here's another one. This is going to be an echo type quilting, so round, and you can change the spacing of the lines and so on here. And you can also change the color with all the sub menus. Okay, so there'll be 16 colors here as well. They have a cross hatch. So the other one was more like a what I want to say, like a checkerboard almost. But this one's more like a cross hatch. So let me show you what that looks like over here. You may not be able to see it too well. I do apologize again. But it has lines that are further spaced apart, and you can change them. It's very difficult to see with the camera in the camera. So I don't do a lot of showing on the machine with the projector because it just doesn't show up too well on the camera. All right, so then there is that option. And then you can also just turn the sub menu off. So if I click off here, it will just turn off that menu, and I'll just have the main laser light available. Okay. So this has not changed from the Luminaire. This is basically the same, except that they've added an extra shape, and they've added more colors, and then they've added more angles, and and then a couple of extra sub menus, or sub lines. So I thought that was really cool that they'd added a few extra things to it. And they let you access it also with the stitch regulator on. So that's really cool. So we're just going to hit close. I'm not going to leave this on. I'm just going to hit close here. And I'm going to turn off my laser light. Let's just turn off the laser light, because I don't need that. I'm not going to use that. It's easier for you to see me sewing without the laser light on. So that's what this button is. Now, the other thing they added to the Aveneer, which is kind of neat, is that there's a little bit of a area that you have to stay in when you're quilting for the stitch regulator to stay regulated. So what they did, this line here says sensing line. So when I turn that on, if I just click on it, and this is not on the Celeste or the Anthem as far as I've seen. So this little line here, you can make it a different color if you want. Okay. What it does, and again, let me see if I can get you to see any of this. There's a line. I think you can see it. Can you see this black line right here? That's telling me to stay in front of that line for my stitch regulator to maintain regulation. So it does give me a line there, which is nice. You don't have to leave it on. If you leave it on, it will have this bright light right here, which may be nice for you to be able to see. I find it a little distracting, so I've been turning mine off, but I'll show you the other one before I turn this off. I'll show you the other option up here. So I'm going to slowly go back again. So that is this one here is the sensing line, and then the button next to it is called the Stitch Regulator status. So if I turn that on as well, it's going to show up under the line over here. And what it does is it, right here, if you can see the little red kind of square, what it does is it tells me at this point that my stitch regulator is not engaged, it's not ready to go. As soon as I put my foot down, like put the presser foot down, then it will turn green. So if I put this down, it should turn green. Oh, I haven't chosen mine. Let me just choose a mode. We'll go back and talk the modes, but see how it turned green here. So it's not red anymore, it's now green. So once you have everything ready to go in stitch regulation mode, it will turn green. But I find this bright light here a little distracting to me, so I'm actually going to turn them off. So let me show you how to turn them off over here. I'm trying to go back and forth very slowly with the tripod so you don't get dizzy. Okay. So again, I can just go back up and click on the buttons up here and turn them white again, and they will go, then they'll turn off. Okay. Oops. And I think I just had to, yeah, just had to turn them off. And we'll turn this one off too. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. The sensing line does have a little button. the other little button didn't, but the sensing line had this little toggle switch down here. It says sensing line to turn it off. So I went ahead and turned my off so that I don't have that white light while I'm trying to free motion. So, okay. But if you do have your laser light turned on, then you will have that light there, or either one of these items. Okay. All right. So that is the 3 buttons on the top left. I'm trying to make sure I read my notes here so that I don't miss anything. So we talked about the laser light. We talked about the sensing line. Isn't that neat that the mouse tells you what, when you hover, it tells you what it is. I like that. Then you know the exact names of everything. And this is the status. Okay, so in a second, I need to turn my page. And then let's talk about some of the other buttons that are on this screen. We're going to get back up here to this part in a minute. But I'm going to go down here to these buttons right here, the buttons at the bottom. These buttons here are about the automatic reinforcement. So what that means is that it will tie off automatically at the beginning, and then you can tap a button to make it tie off at the end. Works with the sewing the same way. So these buttons are still available. You touch them to turn them on, and if you want the cut at the end, you add the scissors. You can't use the scissors without the automatic reinforcement stitch, but you can use the reinforcement stitch without the scissors. Okay, so I don't plan on using either one of those today. You can also just push your reinforcement button up on the machine, and when I'm free motioning, I don't tie off much, so I'm just going to leave mine off. I'm glad though that they added it so that you could use it. And then the next buttons here are where your needle is going to stop. So I've got mine set to stop with the needle in the down position. You can also set it with the needle in the up position. So that's the 2 options you have here. And then this button here is my pivot with the auto up at the end. And what that means, like when I hit the cutter at the end, it automatically comes up and brings my foot up. When I step down on the gas, the foot goes down and goes. And when I let up, it raises and lowers the needle for me. So I like the pivot on. Some people don't like that pivot. So you can turn that on and off just by clicking on it. But I usually leave mine on all the time. Okay. And then the other button that's at the bottom here is the height of the foot. Now I think the default is at 1.5 millimeters. That was a bit low for me, and we'll get to that in a minute when we get to sewing, but it was a little bit low for me, so I did raise it up to 2 or 2.5. Now remember, If you raise the foot too much, it can actually cause you to have problems with your stitch quality. Because if it's too high, you might shred thread or you might skip a stitch because the machine, you know, thinks the foot is up. So just be careful not to get it too high, but you also need to have the fabric move fairly smoothly. And we'll talk about the reason I have a little trouble on my Aveneer compared to the Celeste, because I've been playing with the Celeste as well that we just got in at the store here. But the Aveneer has a different actual finish on the machine. So I notice it a little more difficult to move my fabric on my Aveneer. So, okay. And then you can, that's where you change it. These buttons here are the buttons that you change the height with. So I got it at 1.5. I know for sure I need it at 2.0. So I'm going to put it there, but we might be able to bump it up one more little notch. It's going to depend, of course, on how thick your sandwich is and that type of thing. So you'll have to kind of take that and play that by ear as you are working with the stitch regulator. But you saw how easy it was. You just plug in the machine, you put on that special foot, plug it in the back, and then up comes the screen that we need. So it's pretty simple. Then, of course, the settings at the bottom are your normal settings that are for, you know, your width, your length, your left, right shift. Right now, I've got the needle in the center. This is your tension. Leave it be. I hardly ever touch my tension here. So that's your normal sewing, you know, change your normal sewing settings that you will have for any stitch. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the actual modes. So this machine has 3 modes to use the stitch regulator, and they're very much, if you've got a long arm, they're very much like a long arm as well. And so I have a different name in my head when I thought of these and then the ones that they put on the screen. So I'll tell you what I call it. And if I call it that, you'll understand what I was talking about. So mode 1 is probably the one you'll use the most. This is intermittent mode. On my long arm, it is called precision mode. So in other words, when you move the fabric, it moves with you until you stop, and then it stops when you stop, okay? So when there is no movement of the cloth, the needle stops at the top and the needle drops after moving the significant length. Be careful not to put your hand under the needle. So in other words, when you stop moving the fabric, it stops also, just like on my long arm, and I call that mode precision. So maybe that would be more, you know, that will maybe stick in your brain more than intermittent, okay? So in other words, when you stop moving, it stops moving in this mode. And that's probably the one you'll use the most, okay? The mode 2, so if you click that button, it'll come up and say continuous mode. So what that means is that even if you stop moving the fabric, the needle will continue to go up and down. And so my long arm calls that cruise mode. So the needle never stops moving even though you stop moving. It is regulating the stitches in both of these modes all the time. But this one stops when you stop, and mode 2, continuous, does not stop the needle. The needle continues to go up and down, okay? So I call that cruise, they call it continuous. So, and then, let's see, the third mode, mode number 3, and this is another one that I thought, and it's going to give you a little warning down here. When using basting stitching, do not use the stitch regular open toe foot. So in other words, they don't want you to use this foot with the basting stitch. They just want you to use the standard foot. You can use this echo foot as well. This is not a foot I use as often, so I've got the regular foot on today so I can show you all 3 modes, okay? But they don't want you to use the open toe foot with the basting stitch. So what's cool about the basting stitch is it's regulated and it makes a very long stitch. I want to say it's almost I would guess almost an inch long. It's quite long. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this little screen there, okay? The needle drops at longer intervals for basting. Be careful not to put your hand under the needle. So the thing that's cool about basting, so this is a basting stitch, okay? And what's cool about that is if you pin baste your quilts, I do a lot of small, like table runners and small like wall hangings and things. And I often pin baste them. Well, this would be handy because I could just baste them with the machine, and then I wouldn't have to sit there and take out all the pins. I could just sew over the thread and then pull the threads at the end. So I kind of like this, and I think that's one of the things I'll be using this for, is to just baste my small quilts, so that I don't have to pin baste anymore. So I'm anxious to show you that because it's pretty cool. Okay, if we go back again, and so there's just one stitch available for that. This is a basting stitch. Okay, free motion basting is what they call it. Okay, if I go back one mode to continuous or to the intermittent mode, you notice there's two stitches available. So this is the straight stitch in the middle, a standard straight stitch, and you also notice a zigzag. So you can do a zigzag with the free motion foot on, the stitch regulator on. Now, one thing that I do a lot is when I embroider, I do quilting in the embroidery machine. The foot likes to go like under the edge of my little quilts if I'm going off the edges at all. And so I often zigzag down the edge of my fabric. And I thought, oh my gosh, this would be so fast to be able to do it here. So I'm going to show you that too, because I've got a piece of fabric ready to do the zigzagging along the edge of like a quilt that I would be quilting, and then I could zigzag it real quickly and with the free motion instead of actually just sewing it. I mean, it's going to be similar, but it goes a little faster with the stitch regulator. So I thought, well, that's kind of neat. And then, of course, you can adjust if I choose the zigzag, then it gives me the options of changing the lengths and the widths, just like, and I usually I make my width just a hair wider usually. And then the length is about right what I usually use. Okay. So that gives these intermittent mode and continuous mode both give me two stitches to use. When basting, mode number 3 only gives me one stitch to use. So, all right, so let's go back and I'm going to sew a little bit. Like I said, I'm not a very good free motioner, so I do apologize up front for the sewing part. But it is really fun to do, and I actually feel like I could probably do some very basic free motion now because it makes my stitches look nice and regular. All right, so let me bring my tripod over here a little bit so you can see me sewing. And since I don't have that projector on, you'll be able to see it way better. I am going to, if I tip this down, I think it'll get out of the light a little bit so you can see a little bit better. And I'm going to have to kind of sit in between my tripod here, so I do apologize while I get kind of organized here. I've got a foot controller hooked up, which works better for me than using the button when it comes to free motion, because I have my, I don't know if you can see it up here, I have my speed set all the way up, so I have full rein with my foot, but basically the stitch regulator is taking care of my regulation for me. So all I have to do, let's go back over here. All I have to do is put my foot down basically as an on and off switch on the foot controller. Now let's talk a little bit about the reason I'm having a little more trouble with the movement of the fabric on this particular machine. The Celeste is made like the Dream Machines and Destinies. And do you remember those machines? Many of you still have them. The surface of the machine was shiny, and it actually was very smooth and very shiny, and so everything moved on it really well. Well, this machine is more of a matte finish, and so is the Luminaire. So I've always had a little more trouble getting things to move on here. So what I did, Brother has this little, it's a little quilting aid that has like little grippers on the bottom. So I found this worked really well for me. If you have like free motion gloves, or the little, Martelli makes these little paddles that you can put your hands on that stick to your fabric so things move around better. So I didn't have any of those things, but I did have this. Works pretty slick. Technically, it's supposed to be this way, but what I found, it's very small. And what I found is if I turned it backwards, it worked better for me because of the stitch regulator wanted to wonk along the back here. So if I left the little opening back here, things worked a little bit better for me. So I don't do a lot of free motions, so I'm usually okay with this little device, and it works pretty well. It's got those little grippers and everything moves. Now I've noticed that my foot still, see how I feel like my foot's stuck? So I am going to raise my height a little bit and see if that helps a little bit. I have, this is Hobbs 80/20 batting, and so it is fairly thick. So I'm just going to see if this, 3 feels better here, maybe 2.5. So I'm going to see how it goes at 3, just because this is a little thicker. I have a piece of fabric on the bottom too, and then my Hobbs 80/20 in the middle. Second here, I'm going to pull my computer a little closer to make sure you can see what I'm doing. And what I'm going to do to start here is I'm just going to kind of start back this way a little bit. And this is going to be mode number 1, which is the intermittent mode or the precision mode. So it's going to stop. So I am just going to go ahead and I'm just going to tie off with my reinforcement button up here. So I just touched my little reinforcement button. You don't have to. You could pull your bobbin thread up if you want to. I'm just going to tie it off so that it stays put for me when I start. And then what you do, put your foot down on the gas and start moving your fabric. And like I said, I'm not a very good free motioner. Now, can you hear those little beeps? The machine just regulates just so fast, okay? And if you're getting a beep, that means you're going too fast, okay? So I think I had a little shred here. So that's the only thing about having the foot too high. It feels like it might be a little high, because see, I had a little break on my thread here. So I'm just going to rethread the machine. That's what I get if I get my foot too high. And so I might need to put it down a notch here. There we go. I'm just using, this is actually long arm thread that I use in my long arm. So it's the Madeira long arm thread. It's an awesome thread. And I use this quite often for free motioning and quilting. So I am going to go back down on the screen over to 2.5 just to bring it down a little bit. And let's see, we'll move over a little bit and try it again here. So I figured I might have a break. I'm just going to tie it off again, just like I do when I'm embroidering, which is fine for this sample. I'm going to push my foot down, and when I start moving, it goes. And the trick now is to don't go too fast. You know, we have a tendency to want to go really fast. And since the stitch regulator is regulating for me, I don't have to go very fast. I can just go real slowly. And I find that I do better, actually, if I just move slowly. The other thing you could do is mark a pattern in here, okay? And like I said, I'm not a free motioner, but I've been having a lot of fun playing with this and just learning about it. I'm going to move this over here. You just move your little device around, okay? So that is precision mode, or intermittent mode is what they call it. I call it precision mode because when I stop, it stops. And that's what I normally use when I am quilting. So again, let me try the zigzag. So I'm going to press the zigzag stitch over here, and it's going to do the same thing. When I start moving, it's going to do a zigzag. So I'm going to go forward and see it's going to zigzag, just like, you know, like when we're doing regular sewing, right? If you go backwards, it still does a zigzag. So it's pretty cool because, you know, some of these zigzags might become neat for an interesting, you know, some sort of an interesting effect that you're trying to get. So I think it's cool because see, it changes, you know, when you move it and go around in circles, it does change the zigzag, but it does work really well. Okay, so the trick is try not to get too many beeps. You probably heard my machine beeping a little bit, so it was beeping. So you just have to kind of relax a little bit and not go too fast. Okay, so that is precision or intermittent mode. In other words, when I stopped, it stopped. Okay, so let's go over here, move down a little bit, and we're going to try cruise mode. I call it cruise mode. It's called continuous mode on the machine. The continuous mode, okay, I'm just going to drop my needle. I'm going to use my reinforcement stitch and just tie it off so it won't go anywhere. Okay. But when I stop now, it is going to the needle will continue to go up and down. So I'm going to put my foot down and I'm going to start going. Whoops, I'm still in zigzag. We'll go back to straight stitch. Okay. And I go forward. Okay. And I think you could mark with the way this works really well. And if you go slow, I find I do better if I go slower. And I think I could actually follow a marked line with this. I might try marking something before I end the video and see if I can follow the line. Okay. But when I stop, you know, when I stopped here, when I stop moving the fabric, see how the needle's still going up and down. So that is how that mode works, is that it continues to needle up and down even though I am not moving my fabric. Okay. So again, try to keep it slow. That's why I like the intermittent or precision style mode, so that it keeps going. This little device is a little short because it hits the regulator. They make bigger ones like this that work really slick. I just don't have one here to use, so this one was the one I could grab really easily. But I like it because it lets me grab a hold of my fabric tighter. And you can use your gloves. There's a lot of different devices you can use for free motion that keep you from, you know, having to grip with the death grip on your fabric. So this works really slick for me. Okay, so that is continuous mode. So I'm going to cut that. So continuous mode, the needle kept going when I stopped. So like let's do that one more time so you can see it do it. Drop my needle down, and so when I go forward, so I've got my foot down, and see I'm not moving, and the needle's still going up and down, and I'm going to stop here and see the needle is still going up and down. So that's what that continuous mode does. Okay, so now let's move over here. Move our little gadget over here, and I think I will really like the basting mode. So the basting mode is mode number 3. I'm going to leave my straight stitch on, because that's the only option there is for basting. And it does tell you with basting to use, not use the open toe foot. So don't use this foot. I've just got the standard one in here, okay? All right. So I'm going to drop my needle. I'm just going to do a reinforcement stitch just to get started. Second here, I can't get it. There we go. And then for basting, I am going to remove my little device here. I think I can get it to baste okay for me. You're going to be moving the fabric a lot more, and it's only going to drop the thread about the needle about every inch. Can you see it's just doing it every now and then? It's about an inch or so. Okay. Let me go ahead and tie that off so you can see. So see how the threads are real long? It might even be more than an inch. It's a good inch anyway. So you can see. And so that would be easy, really easy to take out. Like if I needed to take that out after I'd done my quilting, see how easy that came out? So I thought that might be kind of a cool thing. I might not have to pin baste anymore, because I do a lot of pin basting, you know, and it takes a while to get all of those pins out. So let's try that again. So I'm going to go this way and see how it just goes about every inch or so. I didn't get it tied in. You have to kind of tie it in at the beginning. Let me go ahead and do a reinforcement stitch here, because it wants to come out. It's so long, you know. Let's see if we can get it to go this way. But isn't that cool? And then you can just baste. You can just kind of go, you know, every few inches or so. You know, they say you should baste, what, about every 3 inches or so. But see, there's that long stitch. There's a long stitch here. And then you can just pull it out that easy. It's so cool. So that's something I think I'm going to use. I'm really anxious to try an actual project with the basting stitch. What worked best for me was actually, let's pull a little thread out here. was at the beginning of it, do a good reinforcement stitch at the very first stitch just to keep it from coming out because it's so long. You know, the stitches are so long. Let's try it now and see if that helps. There we go. But it does an excellent job. And you can move a little faster. I've got the tripod in front of me, so it's hard for me to get very close to see where I'm going. But isn't that neat? And see, here's our stitches. And so like down here where I didn't tie it, I can just go like this and pull them out. And then right here where that little knot is, you might have to trim it. But that's pretty neat. And I think that's something that I will use the stitch regulator for, so I don't have to use pins. So that is the basting mode, or mode number 3. So let me show you something that I've been wanting to, and I haven't done this yet, so you're going to get to do this with me the first time. I do a lot of embroidery and quilting in my embroidery hoops. Let's get rid of this one for a minute. And I do a lot of quilting with my embroidery machine. And I am going to go ahead and put this open toe foot in. So to take this foot off, again, there's a little white lever in the back of the main foot here. Push it in, and then just when the needle's there, just carefully slide it out from underneath. There's a little hole there for a reason, so you can get it under your needle, and then it goes up into that little slot and pushes in like that. So it's very easy to change the feet. But I do a lot of my quilting in my embroidery machine, and I often have to go off the edge of my fabric. So I haven't tried this yet. So let's take a look and see how this works. So here's my backing, and my batting, normally sticking out beyond my quilt top. And I usually zigzag along here. So I am going to do, let's see, so we're going to go back to precision mode, or intermittent mode, which is number 1. I'm going to go back to my zigzag. I think I'm going to make it just a little wider though. It'll only let me go up to 3 millimeters. So I'm going to make it as wide as I can. The length is 1.6. So we're going to try this and see how this works. So I usually zigzag, off the edge here so that when I'm embroidering and going off the edge of my quilt top, it won't slip that foot up underneath my fabric. Okay, so let's see how this works. I'm going to go ahead and tip this down just a little bit to get away from the light. And let's see here how we do. So I'm just going to go along that edge and see it's regulating for me. Oh my gosh, this is so easy. Look at this. You can stop. In intermittent mode, when I stop, it stopped. Oh my gosh, what an easy way to do this. And it's kind of a cool foot, you can kind of see it. Sorry, like I said, I've got the camera between me and the machine, so it's a little hard to see where I'm going, but okay. I can't reach any further, sorry. I think I can, let me see if I can go any further. There we go. But I can go all along the edge of that, and so I'm really anxious to try this on my project, because oh my gosh, then I may not have to, you can see where I stopped, because this is the real break thread, but that'll be so neat that I won't have to just do the sewing. I think maybe my bobbin thread popped out of the tension too, and see, it even kept sewing, didn't it? We'll try it again so you can see it a little bit better. All of a sudden I heard this little clicking sound. I was like, what is that sound? It happens sometime. So let's go down this other side. Oh, we can go down another side a second. I forgot I have another open side over here. We'll do this. Let's go turn it around and do this side. Since the bobbin's in the right place now. So see, you guys got to do this with me. I have not ever done this part. And I thought, well, this could be really a game changer for me, because I do this on all those little quilts, and I think it'd be really cool. So let's see. I got to get a little closer. I'm kind of a long ways away. There we go. All right, come on. What does it say? Something is caught. Let's see here. Get this under the foot. Maybe that's what my problem is. Because it's not moving. Nothing's moving. Okay. Well, you got to see this in the video, right? You see what I did? We'll try it on the fabric first. Okay, because everything looks normal. I got my zigzag chosen. I'm in intermittent mode. Let's see here. I can't reach my foot controller very well either, so let me see if I can reach it. We'll tie off a little bit here. See if it behaves itself now. Nope. Oh, there it goes. Okay, now we got it. Yep, it was just stuck. We'll try the edge now. I figured I'll just leave this in the video though, because you know, there are problems, you know, everybody has a problem. And I'm not using the actual foot that comes with the Aveneer. My actual foot is, whoops, I think I just unthreaded the machine too. So you get to see me do all this stuff. The actual foot for this machine is the multifunction foot controller. And I don't normally use that foot. So I have my old one, and I've noticed that the machine sometimes doesn't respond super well to my old foot controller, so maybe it doesn't like it too well. There we go. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Look at that, right over the edge. And it would be better if I had some gloves, so I'll see if I can get me some gloves, you know, for free motioning, that I can hang on to things a little bit better and they'll move a little bit better. But that is so neat, because this is something I do all the time. And it goes really quick. Awesome. All right. I bet it looks better now. Oh, yeah. See, this one looked a little funky. Can you see the stitches looked a little funky? Because my bobbin had just pulled out of the bobbin tension. And so this looks way better. Oh, yeah, way better. So I think that's going to be something I'm going to be able to do. This was not the best fabric in the world. So let's go back to a straight stitch again, so you can kind of see a little bit more regular free motioning. And I can do this with my hands instead of the little gadget. Oh, you know, I should try marking something. Let's see if I can follow it. Let's do that before we don't have fabric. Looks like it's sewing pretty well, though. Let's try that. Let me find a pen here. I think I've got a pen. We'll just mark it with a regular pen, and we'll just mark something and see if I can follow it. Let's see. So should we just do some stipples and get my pen to go here? Get my pen going so we can see if I can follow this. Because I'm just not a very good free motioner, and I like to have something to follow. And let's see if I can follow this, because it really does work really cool. And it, see if we can do it. I just kind of made them join up here, so we'll start down here. Let's tie it off. Let's see if I can follow that. Which way do you think I should go? Should I go to the second here? I think it unthreaded again. My thread wants to catch a little bit on my thread spool up here, so it's doing that today. For some reason, I don't know what it's catching on. Maybe it is getting kind of empty, so that could be it. All right, so you're getting to see me work with this for the first time for a couple of these things, and it's nice to know if I make a mistake. All right, so then I'm going to see if I can follow this line. Let's see how slowly I can go. Oh my gosh, I think I can do this. You know, you would probably mark this with a water-soluble marker of some sort, or a heat-away marker. See, I think I could do this. Isn't that neat? So I've never thought I could really free motion very well, but I think I could do this. You just have to practice a little bit to get the feel of it. And for me, I think it would be better to have the gloves, because my fabric doesn't move as smoothly on this machine. Like if I go over to the Celeste, I can actually move way better. Yeah, see, I can kind of follow those lines. Look at that. That's pretty awesome. So I've had fun making this video for you and playing around with this stitch regulator a little bit. And I hope everybody has learned a little something by just watching and maybe working along with me with some of these little features. So what do you think? I didn't do very well, but I did okay. And I can do the regular, a little bit of meandering is about all of it I normally can do. But I really like this open toe foot. That's really nice. This one here, let's put the other foot on real quick so you can kind of see what it looks like too. So just be careful when you take it off. And this one's more for like doing circle patterns. But you can also, it is also nice because it has the lips on the edges, so that it, like if you're getting close to the edges of your fabric, it'll actually go over the edges better. So you can use this just for regular quilting too. But that's what it's intended for, is like circular motion items. So I am getting along a little bit better. I kind of like this foot actually. And I'm getting so that I don't get as many beeps. That's really neat. Yeah, I kind of like this foot. Maybe this would be one I'll use. I mean, you can still see through it, even though it's bigger. And it seems like it keeps the, I don't know if you're noticing, it seems like it keeps the fabric flatter too. So give it a try. You know, most people use one of the other feet, but I think this one's working really good for me. I'm doing better with this one actually, because it just keeps there's more foot there, and it just keeps the fabric flatter. So cool. All right. So I just wanted to show this. We're going to be doing this class in the store on October, I'm sorry. The first week in October. It's a Tuesday and a Thursday for Starlight Club. So I wanted to make you a video so that you had something to go back to, refer back to if you needed some help with the stitch regulator or what the buttons meant. Let me look at October here. I think it's the 7th and the 9th. So the 7th is Iowa City and the 9th was in Davenport. So, but I just wanted to give you a video also so that you could have something to reference back to. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the new Brother Intelligent Stitch Regulator, ISR is what they call it. It's going to be lots of fun. I have never really thought I'd work with a stitch regulator or like do some free motioning, but now, I mean, I actually feel like I could do this. This was kind of fun today. So thanks everybody. If you haven't subscribed to my Sew Along with Jan YouTube channel, I would really appreciate it. It helps me. And also, if you have not come over and joined us on Facebook, the Facebook group is called Sew Along with Jan as well. So come join us and have a lot of fun making projects and seeing videos about machines and different things. So thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great day.